Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to the AskGolfNut channel and welcome to PXG Lightning Tour driver. They're one of 4 models for 2026. I've already done the Max 10K driver. If you want to have a look at that one, you can go down on my video listing, or I'll probably put a little card up there for you to see. But obviously watch this one first if you can. But the Tour model is their low spin head. They had 4. You've got the Max 10K, which is exactly that. It's their Max, and it's their 10K, the highest MOI they've made so far. You've got the Tour Mid, which is a kind of blended version of both. We've got the Tour, which this is their low spin option. Of course, now on the other end, you have the Max Light. But the Tour is their low spin option, so we do have a slightly different weight configuration in the bottom as standard. With the Max 10K and the Mid, I think you've got a 15 gram weight at the back. In the Tour, it's a 7.5 gram weight at the back and 2.5 gram weights at the front. The great thing obviously with PXG is the fact you have those weights, so if you want to change them around when it comes to your custom fitting, and I would absolutely suggest to go get properly custom fit for these drivers, because again, with that weight ports, etc., you can make them a little bit more biased when it comes to fade bias, draw bias, or a little bit higher spin, a little bit lower spin, depending on what you do with those weight ports. You also have the hosel as well, adjustable hosel on there, and again, you can mess around with that when it comes to your custom fitting. Tech-wise, there is a barrage of information when it comes to PXG for this year, so I'll summarise it as quick as I possibly can do. The face is a new face technology that is integrated into the sole, so effectively when you hit a golf ball with a driver, there is a lot of noise, a lot of frequency, a lot of shock, shall we say. And what PXG are trying to do is, with the shock that goes through the head, rather than wasting that energy around the crown or the sole or the sides, they're trying to focus it back towards the face, so you gain a little bit of extra ball speed. We have carbon everywhere on this drive. We have carbon obviously in the crown, and we also have a lot of carbon in the sole. I think it's something like 67% more carbon in the sole than the previous Black Ops Tour. And even though this is not full-on 10K like the Max 10K, when it comes to its MOI, it's still doing pretty well, so it should be fairly stable. The thing is with MOI, guys, I have said this and I'll say it again, MOI, or resistance to twist, when you don't hit the middle, how stable the driver is not necessarily always the best marker for how actually good a driver is. Distance factor is by far the most important thing, so we measure, when we do the second half of the video, when you hit weird and wonderful parts of the face. When you hit the middle, it goes a certain distance. When you hit not the middle and some weird and wonderful parts, it goes X amount of distance, and we put a heat map together to show how good or how consistent this driver really is. 3 different swing speeds. Remember guys, I'll be doing this 80, 95, 110 miles an hour. I'll be swinging around about 105 miles an hour if I can, to protect the knee as best as possible, because everyone swings at different speeds, so I'll try my best at trying to capture as many speeds as I possibly can do. As you can see, we're at the same hole that we were at the Max 10K review, and we have a tree to go over, we have a blind fairway to hit, and it's a little bit of fun because again it's a little bit of a blind tee shot. But this is the smallest head, being the Tour model when it comes to its footprint at least. Right, let's go give it a hit and see how well this does. That's brave. That's right hand side of the tree. That was low on the face. I could definitely feel that was slightly low on the face, but that's fairway, and it's actually a pretty decent line. Club speed 105.9 miles an hour. Club path slightly from the inside, 3.3 from the inside, and face is basically 0 to that. 0 mil heel, 6 mil low, so slightly low on the face. I could feel that one straight away, but not bad at all. 283 total distance, which is not bad at all. 32 yards in the air and 38 degrees ascent angle. Feels nice, feels very carbon, feels very much so similar to the 10K, but this is a slightly higher pitch. That's it. I can't really tell any other differences between this and the 10K. Bear in mind, when you're looking at within the range, if we take out the Max Light, this is the farthest opposite away from the Max 10K. So it actually feels, within reason, very, very similar. Feels very carbon, not a surprise, it is carbon, but it works well, looks exactly the same, but in slightly smaller footprint, feels basically exactly the same. They could be, really, both very, very similar. That's high on the face, very much so high on the face, and a very much so exactly the same result. Well, that's doing all right. I can see the green. Now that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting. So club head speed 106.1 miles an hour. I do need to slow down a little bit. Club path is 2.1 from the inside, and face was 2.7 open. However, I high-toed it. This is an interesting golf club because that's only 5mm toe, 8mm high. It is not massively high toe. It's slightly more higher than it is toe, but it's not massive. Now that felt high-wise much higher than it actually was. When you hit it low on the face, it feels stable, no problem. When it comes to 8mm high, and 8mm high is not much high at all, you could really feel that this face wanted to twist. That's an interesting shot. 8mm high. So already I'm feeling that with center strikes, toe strikes, low strikes, absolutely fine. Slightly high strikes, one is adding a little bit of gear effect. That ball should have started right and gone right, yet that is drawn back. That's an interesting one. That'd be interesting to see what happens when the second half of the video, the performance metrics that this golf club produces, and see how well it does. But it's done really well. I mean, it's 260 yards, which is about 1 yard different or so to what it was beforehand, so hardly anything whatsoever. 281 yards of total. So it's doing really well. Peak height is 35 yards on the edge, descent angle is 39 degrees, so it's under 40 degrees, and it works. It's just interesting you hit it high on the face. That's an interesting one. I'll do it again, well, hopefully not again, but give it another go, see how well it does. Oh, that's a miss hit. I mean, that's absolutely fine. As you can see, as a miss hit goes, you'll take that all day long. But I hit that slightly toey, slightly low. Definitely can tell that one straight away. Club speed 105 or so miles an hour, club half 4.4 from the inside. It's getting too much from the inside now. 1 degrees open, but 10mm toe, 7mm low. Yep, I could definitely detect that. That's not the middle anywhere close, and that's what's giving it its little shape back. Now, okay, my face is open by 1 degree. That should start right and basically just stay right. But my strike is saving me, and that is what's giving it a little bit of draw bias. Now, of course, that's just strike. If I hit it in the middle and it doesn't really draw like that, I'm going absolutely to the right-hand side. Now, chicken and the egg. Now, whether I know I'm going to hit it off the toe and so I leave the face open, or I have the face open so I hit it off the toe, don't know. It's hitting target, but there you go. We're going 258 yards of carry, which is not bad considering it's only a couple yards short of what we've been doing so far. Yeah, that's not a middle strike at all. We've got 279 yards of total distance, 6 yards offline, 34 yards in the air, 39.6 degrees descent angle. So even though that is a miss hit, 10mm toe, 7mm low, the spin's only at 2.5, which normally if you're going to start hitting low on the face, the spin doesn't take long to start getting up there quite quickly. So that is not bad. You'll take that one because obviously you're looking at 280 yards down there and you're hitting in the fairway. So it's a win. Feel-wise, yeah, I'm getting just the sound of it is carbon. The feel of it though, the feedback that I get is actually pretty good. Now this is very much so more sensitive than the Max 10K. I can already tell the 10K is more stable. I don't feel so much twist. Now of course, does twist actually work to be in anything to do with face consistency and the distance that it should go? That's a completely different discussion. But from a stability point of view, how it twists in the hands when you don't hit the middle, the Max 10K is more stable. This one you do get, I mean, I hit one high by 8mm and the face wants to twist. One last one. Let's see how this one does, and then we'll go into 3 different swing speeds and the heat map. That is launched. Utterly launched. This might run out of fairway. This is getting very close. Oh, just. Okay, that's more luck than judgment, but you'll take that every time. Club speed 106.5 miles an hour, club path 2.2 from the inside, face is open by 1.3, that's open again, yeah, that's drawing with a 5mm toe, 2mm high, that definitely wants to draw. It's going 272 yards of carry, 294 total, 4 yards offline, 38 yards in the end, 40 degrees descent angle, so it's just going over 40 degrees, but it's working really well. That's a bomb ball, especially for 106.5 miles an hour. It's about 5 or so mile an hour short of what my normal is, and of course that would be going, that's 272 from 106.5. That's getting out there at my normal speed. Feels pretty nice, feels very much so carbon, no different to the Max 10K. This one is more sensitive. I can definitely feel the head twist more on the tour than I can the Max 10K, but again, that's the MOI side of things. Let's go hit it all over the face to see if the heat map agrees, to see if this one is slightly less forgiving or consistent than the Max 10K. Let's also go test it at 3 different swing speeds, 80, 95, 110. Let's go see how good the PXG Lightning Tour driver really is. I've got the heat map on the screen, as you can see, and if you haven't seen these before, these are effectively a face-on representation of what happens in this case when you hit it all over the face, and how much ball speed do you lose when you don't hit the middle. If you haven't seen these before, if you could look at the top there, you've got -30 on the left-hand side, that is the toe. You've got +30 on the right-hand side, that is the heel. You've also got high and also low. And when it comes to the 0 point, that is effectively 0% loss. And of course, as you move around the face, every millimeter that you move across the face, you will lose a certain amount of ball speed. But that is very green. As most manufacturers are very green nowadays, a lot of marketing, a lot of effort goes into putting drivers into the category of losing as least ball speed as possible, because from a marketing point of view and a sales point of view, it's really good to promote a driver face that does not lose any ball speed. And this, like many other drivers, does exceptionally well. It's not until you go to the distance factor though. So of course, when you've got a curved face with a driver, roll and bulge, it's completely different to an iron with a flat face. You have different launches and different spins depending on where you hit it on the face. And of course, as soon as you start mapping that, you then get a slight different heat map. That's what you call the distance factor map. So if you flick over to that, you can see it's slightly different to the efficiency one. So this is effectively a measure of what happens when you hit out the middle. You get 0 loss of distance, however far it goes X distance. And then when you move around the face, because of launch differences and spin differences, you will see a difference in your distance. So the bigger the green area, the better the driver is at keeping up that distance across the face. All this information that you'll see here with the heat maps and all the other bits and pieces you'll see in a sec is all available on my website, www.askgolfnut.com. We have quite a few drivers in at the moment. We've got 100 or so irons in there, but when it comes to the drivers, we're a little bit more in its infancy because of it's taking a little bit longer to get all the metrics sorted out for the driver because of the curved face. It's a lot more complex than it is with an iron with a flat face. Again, that's all available on my website for website members to have a look and compare. Obviously 2026, we've got all the new golf clubs, and they'll also be on the database as well. But you can see there, you've got that little blue area around about, what's that, 5 or 6 millimeters or so, 7 millimeters off towards the toe, slightly high, and it's effectively 1% gain in distance. So effectively you've got the green is good, yellow is fine, orange is so-so, red is definitely don't hit me there, and of course you do have that blue now, and that blue is a little hot spot, not for speed but for optimal distance, and it's slightly high toe, more toe but slightly high as well. So you can go all the way to, let's say, 20 millimeters off the toe, and you're losing in and around just into the near 4% of your distance. Now of course different golf clubs are more sensitive than others, and of course the bigger the green block the better, and if you're moving massively on a golf club, I would always say coaching and lessons. From a coach's perspective, I would always say coaching is better, but you do get different golf clubs which exhibit much more forgiveness or consistency in certain areas. This golf club is doing pretty okay. You have to go from extreme areas to hit anywhere near the red, and we're talking some fairly extreme areas. You can go all the way to the other side, plus 20 on the right hand side, which is the heel, and you're in and around the 4%. So it's a fairly equal when it comes to its loss. It has a slightly less bleed off towards the heel than it does the toe. The toes are slightly more of an aggressive bleed off. But again, this is the Tour. This is the Tour design that's supposed to be the least forgiving of the lot. It's still doing pretty darn well considering, on the basis that it is a low spin head. It's just a case of, if you're going to be moving across the face massively, then I'll be thinking about coaching rather than thinking about the Tour. When it comes to hitting low on the face, you can go down to -20. Remember, golf clubs are around about 55 mil tall, give or take, and they're around about 100 mil wide when it comes to its largest points. And of course you do have curves, so you're not going to hit in certain parts, but you kind of get the idea. If you go down to -20 at the bottom, you're losing in and around the 4% again. So it is a fairly linear, fairly uniform driver, this one. If you're going to be starting to move around more than 3/4 of an inch off the middle in any direction, that's a big miss. You're going to be losing in and around the 4%, with the exception going high on the face, you're losing around about 3%, just into 3%, if not 2%, because of it's always slightly better off the high parts of the face, because you get that higher launch, lower spin idea, and depending on speed, that's the only thing. Talking about speed, let's go to the 80, 95 and 110 miles an hour flights. Now, all this information is captured at around about 4.5 degrees angle attack up. I hit up with my driver, and I also deliver slightly more loft than my angle attack up. So this is at 16 degrees of loft, and I'm hitting up by 4.5 degrees. And you can see there the 80 miles an hour, we've got a ball speed of 113.7 miles an hour, 114 mile an hour, launching at 13.4 degrees, we're spinning at 1763. Yep, carry 159 yards, we've got peak height of 14 yards in the air, descent angle 27 degrees, etc. But what you're seeing there is effectively 114 miles an hour from an 80 mile an hour swing. Remember, we are talking about a slow swing speed golfer here. Carrying 160 yards because I think, well, the spin number for me from a fitting point of view is too low. Remember, this is the 9-degree head up to 10.5 degrees, and PXG do make different specifications of different lofts for the drivers. So I'll put that up on the screen there so you can see all the drivers are coming in different lofts, left-handed, right-handed, that kind of availability. But for a 80 mile an hour swing speed golfer, the slower swing speed golfer, I would be going to the higher loft straight away, because with the 9-degree head that I've got up to 10.5 degrees, there is no wiggle room anymore. I've lost it. That is it's the upper level. And generally speaking, if you're looking at 80 mile an hour slower swing speed golfer, you're looking at more so the senior golfer or the lady golfer, not necessarily going to get any faster, and if anything is going to lose some speed as they get older. I've already lost the wiggle room in a 9-degree. I'd be going to the 10.5 degree, if not even the highest one, and having the wiggle room with that loft adapter to be able to move the flights. I can't do that with a 9-degree. 10.5, that's as much it will do, and there you go. But so with an 80 mile an hour, definitely high lofted head. Go to 95 miles an hour, ball speed's up to 135.1 miles an hour. Launch angle still 13.4 degrees. Launch angle does not change with speed. If you're delivering exactly the same, of course, you're talking about ball speed change, peak height will change, descent angle change, carry will change, and total distance will change, but how it launches, physical launch, will not. You look at spins now at 2-1. That is an interesting one because it's now over 2,000, 2,100 is, I would say, I don't want to go any lower on a 95 mile an hour swing. I'd love to get the launch angle up a fraction more if I could do, but again, I've got that availability if I wanted to go to a higher lofted head. This is the importance of you getting custom fit, especially with a driver. It's not only just about shaft, it's getting the right head. The head by far, the loft and the kind of design of the head is by far the most important thing. The shaft is there for timing, and when it comes to getting the head right, that's the most important thing. Carries now at 218 yards, peak height is 25 yards in the air, descent angle is 35.3 degrees, so that's going to be hitting the ground and chasing down there under 40 degrees. It's lovely, and you can see it's offline is a measure of how much is slightly biased to either a left, which is minus a draw as such, and then right would be a plus number, but -2 is hardly anything. Go to 110 miles an hour, ball speed is now 156.4 miles an hour, launching at 13.4 degrees, no different. Spins are now at 2425, which is arguably fractionally too much. But again, that all depends. Different golfers will deliver differently, and if you deliver in a way which lowers your spin, because your spin loft is lower, then that 2.4 is not going to be 2.4, it's going to be a lot less than that. That's the great thing with the driver's self-fit tool that you've got there on the gold tier, is the fact that you can put your own data in there and actually see how your flights are going to be projected based on how you deliver a golf club. Let's go to the advanced gauges very quickly before we do the conclusion, and this is a measure of how the golf club performs. When you put it up loft adjusted, etc., how well does it do? When it comes to these gauges, these advanced gauges, these are a measure of how well it does compared to all other of the drivers in the database. And again, the driver database is nowhere near as big, shall we say, as the irons. The irons are a lot easier to work out, so it's taken us a while to work out exactly how to do all the heat maps, etc., for the drivers because of that curved face. But you can see the face speed is not the fastest. And now this is the interesting thing with a low spin head. Generally speaking, when you have a low spin head, the center of gravity is moved a little bit closer to the face, lower down closer to the face. It's not actually in line with where the ball hits. So of course, as soon as you don't hit in line with the center of gravity, effectively you're going to lose a little bit of distance, lose a little bit of speed, sorry. But when it comes to its launch factor, you can see there, wow, it is one of, if not the highest launching driver, loft for loft adjusted. Everything is done at exact same loft, etc. We're just measuring how it launches out of the middle when you have it exactly the same loft, etc. And it is one of the highest, if not the highest launching driver on the database. So if you need a golf club to get going up this Tour is a very, very good idea. If you look at the face spin rate, it's not necessarily massively low. So even though the Tour is designed to be the low spin head, it's not massively low spinning. And the great thing with that is that potentially, because you've got this high launch factor and average spin, you can really dial this one in to get maximum flight, especially as you start going slower. If you were to go to the 10.5 degree head, the standard temp, or even higher, and have the wiggle room of that adapter, you could really get some decent spin numbers whilst keeping good initial launch. It's a really decent option for a lot of golfers, this Tour driver. Vertical spin change is a measure of what happens when you vertically miss on the face. You go up and down every millimeter, and how much spin is either added or taken away depending on where you hit it on the face. Hit high on the face, you'll get higher launch but lower spin. Hit low on the face, you'll get a lower launch but higher spin. And this is fairly sensitive. It's not a surprise. Most drivers, when it comes to the low spin sector, shall we say, are fairly sensitive vertically. When that center of gravity gets closer to the face, you will always see a propensity for having a little bit more variance when it comes to its spin. So if you are someone who misses vertically on the face, then necessarily I wouldn't say discount it at all, because a lot of low spin drivers are exactly the same as this. And of course, if you need low spin because of your dynamics, then there you go. You just have to be very, very wary of the fact that there's going to be a slight spin change, spin difference, so a difference in trajectory when it comes to vertically, curvature vertically, when you hit high or low on the face. Spin axis changes effectively the other way around, 90 degrees to it. When you move left and right laterally on the face, toe and heel with your miss, how much curvature does it apply to the golf ball? And this is firmly in the low. It's a very, very stable golf club. So if you move toe and you move heel, it doesn't really apply that much in the way of curvature. Bias is fairly simple to understand, because effectively bias is basically when you hit it out in the middle, what does it do? You have a face which is 0, a path which is 0, a strike which is 0, high and also left and right. And it's just basically 0, lie, 0, everything. If you're a robot and hit it 0, what does that golf club want to do to the golf ball? And it has got a very, very slight bias to the left-hand side. I wouldn't say it's draw biased. -1 degree is not much whatsoever. The chances are you'd hardly even see that in flight, and no different if we went to the 3 different swing speeds. You can see, I think it was 3 yards, 110 miles an hour. You're not really going to see that whatsoever. It's basically fairly neutral. To conclude on the PXG Tour driver, let's go by looks, feel, performance and forgiveness. Looks and feel first. The Tour being slightly smaller footprint in profile, etc. This is their smallest one of the 4. And if you put them all down by the golf ball, you can kind of see a slight difference. It's not huge, but it is the smallest among the 4. Of course, the 4 now, the Max 10K is probably the polar opposite to this one when it comes to its furthest away of its design. You have the Tour Mid, which is in between this one and the Tour and the Max 10K. And of course, you've got the Max Light. The Max Light is their super lightweight for golfers that want to try and maximize their club speed as best they can do, because it is a very, very lightweight setup head. But the sound of the Tour, over the normal of the Max 10K, which I've done already, I'll be honest, I can't really tell much difference. In a studio environment, which this is, I can critique sound quite easily. And when you're talking about the golf course, when there are situations of trees, no trees, open courses, parkland, whatever, all these different scenarios, I'm really struggling that you're going to be able to put these two drivers head to head, bang, bang, hit one right after the other, and anyone be able to tell the difference. They sound very, very similar, and they sound very, very good. These are carbon drivers. They are distinctly carbon when it comes to its sound, but it hasn't lost its little tingness that you have from old titanium drivers. Used to make a massive high-pitched sound, and I come from that kind of generation, and I kind of got used to it. And when the carbon ones come along, it was a little bit of a but there are some drivers that do sound really, really nice in carbon. Of course, this is definitely one of them. Some carbon drivers sound too muted, in my opinion. This is subjective, of course, in my opinion, so obviously ignore it, but they sound a little bit too muted, and I don't necessarily like it. I like a driver where there's a little bit of carbon to it, yes, but a little bit of punch also, and this does really well. Performance-wise, it's an interesting golf club. It's not the fastest face in the world, it's not, but it does do an extremely good job at launching the golf ball really, really well. And in golf terms, trying to get that golf ball launching with the right spin window is by far the most important thing when it comes to functionality of getting that golf ball going forward. When it comes to face speed is huge from a point of view of marketing. They talk about how fast you can swing and how fast that ball speed moves, but dynamics, ball dynamics, flight dynamics is by far more important. You can add 2 or 3 miles an hour of ball speed, but if you do not have the right flight dynamics, you can easily waste far more than that in wrong flight than you can do just in raw distance. Forgiveness wise, it is a fairly consistent head. Again, if you're going to be moving massively into an inch either side of the middle, then I would always say definitely it'd be a better idea going coaching than would do talking about drivers. Now, of course, there are drivers out there which are very, very consistent. This is the Tour driver. It's not meant to be massively forgiven. It's doing a decent job of keeping a decent green blob on it. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button. YouTube like so do I. Down there, it's a subscribe button. It's free. It is great for the channel if you could subscribe. So thank you. Next that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.